Hey, hi everybody. I am here. So are my chickens. I'll try to ride the mute button to make sure that you can't hear them except for when I'm talking. And so I can take a breath and you can anyway like that. So, hi everybody. Introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Gina.
I love the chaos. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Gina.
I'm Gina. I'm a sometimes practice host on the SE Discord server. I also help out new hosts get acclimated and learn how to make announcements, set up events, use the bot, taking volunteers, that sort of thing.
What do you have a bot for? Do you have some AI doing street epistemology?
No, it's a mod bot.
Oh no!
It's just a mod bot that says like who the two people are in the conversation: the claimant, the practitioner, SEer, and the claim, and how much time they have left.
So it's basically just a timer and titler.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
It helps us keep track of the claims and the time and the people.
Good. Yeah, so if you want street epistemology practice and you think a call-in show on YouTube is just a little too out front where you can be seen, then you can jump into the for one of those practice sessions. They're moving around the week a little bit because they're taking a bit of our cue of making the practice happen when the hosts are most available and making them ad hoc. That makes it a little easier for it to happen. So, yay! Okay, you.
And I'm Rosemary, and as soon as you ask me who I am, I forget. I am happy to be here and to learn and practice street epistemology and to just have good conversations.
Yay. So, call in, everybody. There's a StreamYard link right at the top of the link if I pinned it properly. And let me put up the banner that says, hey, we are looking for callers. Ticker. That's the ticker. That's the one that I want. Okay. I can't think of any announcements. Reed and I went to UCLA yesterday and had probably 3 conversations that were publishable. We'll see how that goes through with the editing. I'm working on one of them, and it's all coming together just fine. Oh, look, this one moving the timing, and okay, it'll work. I'm not editing for content. Somebody shows up and they talk, and unless they choose they don't want to, or there's some other technical glitch or other important reason not to publish, I typically do publish them. So it really frees my mind. In the moment, I'm very concerned about the content, about what we're saying, but in the edit, I don't even have to speak the language. I can tell by emotion where I should be looking. It's not a problem. I don't even have to care.
I think that was one of the questions I had when there's talking about editing. Are you editing for content? Are the things you're editing out? Or are you just publishing them with a few extra graphics and fancy stuff added?
Yeah, it's just fancy stuff added. Like the Spectrum game, we're often putting them on wire erase magnet things on a board, and I'll show you that as I'm working on it. But aside from that, there's we're definitely not cutting for content. Jim B, hey folks, just finishing conversing with people with various beliefs. Oh, those various. I know. I've met people
nice
with beliefs. Using methods demonstrated by you folks, we increased mutual understanding rather than building barriers. Thanks. Woohoo!
Nice. Thank you, Jim. It's great to hear.
Jim. Good to know. So what have you got in your back pocket besides chickens?
You want to go first, Gina?
You can go first, Rosemary.
All right. So one thing that was on my mind this week was I believe it was Monday evening at Penn State, which is my undergraduate alma mater. there was a student group that I believe is called America Uncensored. I don't think that existed when I was there 20 plus years ago. And it sounds like they bring in edgy people to talk, and they had invited the founder of the Proud Boys, Gavin McInnes, and another right-wing personality. And I don't remember the name, but they're very edgy people, and there's certainly a history of violence when it comes to Proud Boys' presence at places.
Okay.
And the university had allowed it to go forward. It was funded by student funds, they're on the basis of access, like free access to speech on the campus, which is a good thing. So, but is it a wise thing to, like, is it wise to say anybody can speak? That's one of my questions. I don't think in this case it was the wisest choice. And just from the little bit of news I saw, there was some dispute about who may have sprayed some tear gas there, but basically there was quite a loud contingent of protesters, and there was police riot gear. It was quite the thing. And about 45 minutes or so before the actual event was supposed to take place, it got canceled. So that's what got me thinking this week about a topic.
Okay, so they canceled a speaker at a university because they saw a storm arising on the clouds with protesters. So were people in favor or against the speaker that were the ones that are afraid of, or both?
I think there was more protest from opposition to the speaker, but I think there was some pro-protest, if that makes sense. So
okay, so there were some protesters in favor, some protesters against. Was there any indication that one side was going to be violent, or either side?
I think it started to get a little bit. Again, I didn't get all details. I did look up a little bit right after it happened. There was getting a little bit testy. One of the speakers was out there, like in front of, like, basically harassing the people who were opposed to him being there. I think he got spat on by somebody, and then there was some dispute about who sprayed tear gas first. There was somebody that sprayed tear gas. It wasn't police. So
some people started doing tear gas and responding with tear gas, and they were prepared with tear gas for a speech.
Somebody, yeah. And
that's maybe worse than Rotten Tomatoes. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who brings rotten fruit to any?
Yeah, and it's like when I was at Penn State a long time ago, there were I don't know if you probably know Phyllis Schlafly. She was a conservative, anti-abortion lawyer. She came to do a talk. I don't remember who brought her. I went to the talk, and there was a small contingent of students who protested, and it was not anything that was, like I said before the show, I think it's part of the normal healthy college experience to have that, like to have a speaker who's controversial, have a bit of protest. It's like, that's a good thing. This was just, I think, when you invite somebody who's that far extreme, you're going to get that increased dynamic of conflict. And Penn State isn't a place where there has been a lot of conflict in the past. Usually our riots were because we won a football game.
Is that better?
Yeah, that was my sophomore year. That was interesting.
Riot after a football game. Oh my. Yeah. Boy, that changes the subject for me. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
do you think that the talk should have been canceled, or should have went on?
I think that they probably made the right call about canceling it in that moment, given the events that were going on that day right before it happened. But the question for me is, should the university have taken a stronger stance on that? Because they kind of said that they kind of gave this, like, we don't agree with bringing them here, but we have to allow student groups to, like, because it was student funded, it was on campus, and there seems like there should be a limit there.
Yeah.
But and it's like, how do you draw that line?
Can you draw that line without reference to any particular side?
I would say extremist. It doesn't matter which side. It's just like, at what point do you draw the line between extreme and controversial? Because I think controversy is good. It's just how far do you go?
Okay. So Clinton says Alex Stein wasn't harassing anyone. He was unapologetically standing firm and not backing down. He was being yelled at and spit on. Not sure how what he was doing could be characterized as harassment. So you're saying Alex Stein was not causing the problem, but he may have been the recipient of the problem. Maybe. Okay. Yeah, I don't have familiarity with these folks. Is it possible that somebody could be a moderate and cause a similar problem? You said extremist, so I'm just looking. What's the opposite?
Yeah. It's like, where is the line that invites? And I'm less familiar with Alex Stein, so like I'm not sure if I would put him in the same bucket as Gavin McInnes, maybe.
Okay.
But so just to throw that out there.
Where do you how do you define extremism? Where do you draw that line?
In this case, I'm going by a history of what has happened where the Proud Boys have shown up before.
Mm-hmm.
And there's usually violence involved. Like, even if they, like, I think they often do provoke it. But, it seems like that whatever situation they're in, there seems to be a risk of violence happening. And I don't think you would get that with a moderate.
Either participating or invoking violence, or being the cause of violence, provoking it.
Now, what if you are provoking it, but you are carefully not doing violence? Does that matter? Like I'm imagining a Westboro Baptist Church sign. God hates that
where they
kind of question. I hope that doesn't YouTube annoy people. I'm mentioned, not used. Anyway, if I'm standing there with a sign that annoys people, is that enough to say I'm provoking a reaction, so we shouldn't?
I think, that's an interesting one, because I'm just like, that goes in a lot of different directions. Like, free speech in the public square, which is why Westboro Baptist Church got to do what they do.
Yeah.
And just because their presence provokes other people, I don't think that's enough. I think it's something where you're willing to participate or react to that violence. Okay.
React to the violence with violence, as opposed to
if you didn't actually do the violence, to like, if you didn't throw the first stone, but you throw a stone back, like, I think there might be an argument there.
Yeah, if you throw a stone back as opposed to withdrawing when confronted with violence, that might mean that you don't get another opportunity.
Yeah.
That might be the simple one. I don't know. Jim says, this is a difficult one. Protest, but allow the speaker is my gut reaction. Are some beyond the pale? Sounds like the opposition can be problematic too.
This is where,
I invite examples of extremists on opposing sides. Who is the opposite and to a similar degree from Gavin McInnes or Alex Stein? I'm not actually familiar with these guys, so you're saying Proud Boys. I think that's a racist, strong nationalist thing.
They've been characterized as being white nationalists, which I think is fairly accurate, but their history is interesting. But I don't know if there's a good This American Life. Like, it didn't start out that way. It seems to be what it became over time.
Okay.
Because it had nothing to do with white nationalism. It was
something else.
It was something else, and I'm not going to go into what that was.
I don't know. Obviously, they're provoking things enough to get the security people involved and to have events canceled because administrations are feared, and maybe rightfully so. I mean, Whether they're right to cancel or not, that's more of a political question of where you stand on free speech and how much are institutions required to allow for free speech that has extra costs or risks associated with it.
And it's part of me is like a free speech absolutist and saying like, yes, it's okay to invite extremes or allow extremes to speak, but at the same time I pull back and say, but is it wise?
Well, sure.
So it's like this is more of the wisdom question than the.
I think wisdom and pragmatics are the first argument against any blanket right.
Yeah.
That there's almost always somewhere where I'm swinging my fist where your face could come into contact with it. Clinton says Gavin McInnes isn't an extremist either. He's very conservative and pro-American. He's a provocateur, but racist, fascist, or extremist? No. Okay. And then, my buddy Phil mentions a retro option, but Malcolm X.
Yeah, that's probably a good one too.
Malcolm X on the other side, definitely provoking a lot of people. That kind of thing. And then who is physically assaulting people? Not McInnes. So McInnes is himself apparently publicly remaining nonviolent. Good on you, man. Remain nonviolent. That's good.
Is there a difference between the people engaging in violence and people provoking it?
That's a good question because some of our speech laws do say that when your speech provokes, but like if you go, like I think there was a good example of when Trump was giving a speech, and I can't remember exactly, but like he was basically saying it was calling for violence against somebody who was there as a protester or something. Like there was something like that, and it's like that's on that borderline of when you cross from free speech into prohibited speech, especially if the violence immediately happens.
I think there's a test that's in law, starts with an M, I forget, about whether the law can react. What are the check marks you have to do in order for the law to react to your calls for violence or calls for criminal activity?
Yeah.
I don't remember the details of it.
Inciting violence or inciting criminal activity.
Yeah. How do you provoke violence? I would say, look, there is a miscreant who is a danger to your children. You should go act in ways that will discourage them from ever having that opportunity again. And you should take liberties. And I'll leave it to that. So unless you specifically and literally call for violence, it is not inciting. Okay, then maybe the law needs a little thing in the middle. I don't know. Where do we want to speech?
I would say that is what I would mean by provoke violence, is that your speech is calling in a clear way, and when it's prohibited, it's because you made that speech and almost immediately followed the events that were violent. It's a proximity.
So if the violence doesn't occur, there's no crime?
That's when it's actionable. Like,
is there an incitement that there's no follow-up?
Yeah, that's where it gets fuzzy. Is like if they didn't follow up on it, it's just bad speech. It's just not prohibited speech. And here it's not a question of like prohibited speech so much as it is like harmful speach. So if you are harmed by somebody's speech because it causes you to be beat up, then you have hello Diamond. Then you have a cause of action. So
yeah, it's interesting how the results of a thing causes the action to retroactively get different legal consequences.
Yeah,
that certainly happens in the case of like attempted murder versus murder. Depends on a lot what happens in the hospital afterwards, that kind of thing. Hey, Diamond.
Hello.
What do you bring today?
I am it's election season, right? So I have my ballot at home, and I'm looking over our constitutional amendments. I'm in Maryland, by the way.
Yeah.
So state constitution or federal?
Yeah, state constitution. Yep.
Okay.
So, yeah, I was looking over them, and I came across one that I'm like struggling with. So I thought I'd explore the idea on here, if that's all right.
By all means, let's talk about some politics. It's great
cool
stuff.
Yeah, so it relates to states' rights versus federal rights, actually.
Okay.
So the particular constitutional amendment, I forget the number. I think it was number, I forget the number. Somebody will find it. But
I can go downstairs and look if you like. I have an election guy down there.
To, well, conservatives would describe it as actually, no, it's even more narrow than the Maryland one. It's a county one. It's specific to my county. And it's a sanctuary county thing is the way the conservatives would describe it. So the idea being that my county wants to say that they don't want the local law enforcement to enforce any immigration laws or pass on any information to any, federal law enforcement, basically. Okay. So that's basically the initiative. So maybe I guess that's not one of the constitutional ones. It's the local one. All right. Let me fix that.
So the initiative is about the local saying we're not going to cooperate with immigration something because and what was the word you used? Like a safe place, a safe
essentially making it a safe haven
haven
for people who are not in the country legally. So immigrants who don't have legal residency or anything like that, that the local police wouldn't be able to ask for any like identification, that sort of thing, or wouldn't be allowed to like report them to federal law enforcement. So ICE, the immigration.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so they want to opt out of telling or providing any information upstream toward the federal or the higher state authorities about their knowledge of somebody who's here without legal residency.
You got it.
Is without legal residency the PC way to say it right now? It seems like there's a euphemism running along with
as opposed to like saying illegals. Yeah, illegals naughty. I think is commonly
I don't want to say
on
that.
Fox News, but
I don't like that term. It's naughty.
Yeah. So the thing that I was thinking about is, well, what are the ramifications of this, right? If we don't have local law enforcement cooperating, and regardless of whether like I feel like it's right or not, like I'm just trying to think about the implications of local law enforcement not cooperating with federal laws that they disagree with. So like the flip side of this would be if there was a federal assault weapons ban, right? And then a particular county says, we don't agree with this assault weapons ban, so we're not going to turn in any of the information we have regarding AR-15 registrations. I think that's a good parallel of the like liberal versus Republican viewpoint. And I think most liberals would agree with the safe haven thing. I'm not sure.
What is the safe haven thing?
The safe haven thing being that to not have the local law enforcement cooperate with the federal immigration laws.
Okay. So that's the action is to remove some visibility for outside law enforcement to what's going on, to the idea that the local law enforcement and the local political establishment, because I don't think it's the police that are making the choice. I think it's more like the legislature, or the judges, which the legislature, right? This is a proposition to be voted on, right?
Yes.
Okay. That they're saying this law is unjust and we won't cooperate with it. That's what they're.
I
Okay.
think that's my understanding of it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And so I think that the parallel, you know, with the gun laws would be like a Second Amendment safe haven, something like that. So, yeah. So I think, are they just not reporting what they find, or is it about refusing to cooperate if asked specifically? I think it's actually making it illegal for them to communicate that information. So they wouldn't actually be restricted.
They're declaring any non-criminal people without legal residency as having privacy in this regard.
Yes.
And, wow, that's a little interesting, because that kind of privacy seems like it's pushing the limits of like Fifth Amendment or the right to subpoena somebody from the courts. You know, the courts being able to demand that somebody disclose information that they know, especially people that work for the government. Like, wow, that's really pushing it. Not that I'm thinking that they shouldn't push it. I'm all in favor of pushing the politics around and seeing where it breaks.
I guess you could put some of the employees in like double jeopardy or something like that, where they're like illegal either way. You know, they're not cooperating with the law. With they're breaking one or the other law. Oh, and that actually reminds me,
with a state or local law that actually puts you in violation of a federal law. I think that would put somebody in a really weird state, and they should call their lawyer.
Well, and this also made me think of the other topic along these lines is the marijuana laws, right? So marijuana is illegal federally, but then the states are making it legal in various places, and that is one of the constitutional amendments for Maryland going on right now.
Maryland is trying to make marijuana illegal at a state
legal. Sorry,
legal over a certain age. I think 21.
Yeah, over 21 recreational use is on the ballot, and I think that's Amendment 3. I think that's right.
Okay.
So, but it also poses the same sort of dilemma of, am I okay with states doing this? Like, if they disagree with this federal law, is that, you know, in principle, is that an okay thing to do? And I guess that's really where my claim is. And I know we haven't really narrowed it down to what my claim is.
Fine. No, it's good to talk about what it is you're trying to actually get to. And I think I'm hearing you say you want to explore the notion of whether a state in a hierarchy of nations has the right to refuse.
Yes.
To what degree do they have a right to refuse the rule from above?
Right. Or maybe even not refuse it, but just refuse to cooperate with the implementation and be like, that's on you guys.
I think this is about the strongest signal for no, not that law that the state can do. They're not just saying, no, we're not going to enforce it. They're actually saying, no, we're going to push back. We're pushing back functionally.
Yeah. And of course, they've done this in the past with, you look at the laws for giving African Americans like the right to vote and, you know, separation, you know, the separate but equal thing where people had to be marched into the schools, right? There's these kind of examples that are, I think we would all agree now, were heinous, that
from this side of history, all the dominoes went one way on that one.
Yeah. And so in that case, it's a clear example of where states should have cooperated with the federal because the federal were in the right. But what if the federal were in the wrong? Right. And so so it's like you just go
if we
based on the moral.
Imagine that we don't have an opinion about a particular law. Can you think of a law that the federal people would put on that you are ambivalent about? You think it could go either way? Now, this is just a hypothetical. That we don't have to have a good motivation for the state to ignore it. But so imagine that. Go ahead.
I could just put an arbitrary thing of, you know, whether or not if there was a federal law prohibiting the sale of alcohol to minors or something like that.
Okay.
Maybe that's a bad example because that's feel like that's a pretty obvious. They probably should be.
I
Yeah,
think
we could go with it.
We can get an ambivalent response from the average audience.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of a better example. This is hard.
Well, how about
something
one
that's
that
morally
doesn't matter
ambiguous?
very much, has very little effect on people? Like, or only affects a minority of people.
Oh, maybe the number of varieties of grasses that you can plant in,
so
on the next to the
Federal
sidewalk.
Agricultural Department of the something
Yeah.
has a law.
There we go. Let's go with something like that.
Mixing of grass.
You can't mix crabgrass with some
Okay.
other grass. Yeah.
Right. We don't want to
green
have these
fescue.
grasses together at the same place, so we wrote it into a law. And then the state says, the state says, but that's something we want the freedom to do.
Right.
Now, in this case, if we don't know one way or the other, how should we decide whether that's okay? What would be a test for if we don't know whether the law is a good one or not?
Oh man, I would just say you'd put it to a vote for the people.
Okay. Which people get to vote?
Ironically. So yeah, it feels like it should default to the regional level. Is what I'm leaning towards. That I feel like the federal, that if across the nation they feel like, hey, these grasses should be separate, but this regional group of people feel like, hey, no, we want to have these grasses together. I feel like they should have higher domain over their corner of the country.
Okay.
By default.
Okay, so I've got two counties side by side, and one county says absolutely you should mix your grasses. The other one says absolutely you should never mix your grasses. Should they be allowed to, county by county, define grass standards?
Yeah, I think they should.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't have a great argument for that, other than like, I feel like, I guess it would be sort of that libertarian view of, allow people to govern themselves a little bit. Yeah, I guess that's where I would lean.
Do either of you have any questions? I don't want to dominate the process. This is just fascinating.
Jump in.
I have to kill my messenger a lot.
Okay.
On this because I have that background knowledge. So
you have strong feelings about grasses?
I have strong knowledge about the grass laws that work across states and federal. You do.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
No,
Good.
like, yeah. So I guess if I were to kill the messenger and put it into a question, are there, in the actual example you started with, reasons other than disagreement with the federal law that make it practical to say maybe we should not cooperate with this particular law? And you can put it in terms of grass if you want.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I followed the question. So
what are the conditions? What are the conditions would make it okay for the county or the state to not go along with the federal law?
So other than like reasons like morally disagreeing with it?
Other than morally, like, are there practical reasons?
Yeah, I mean, if it's just like impossible to administer, or if it's like financially prohibitive, I think those could be reasons. Like, or if it's like they get mandated to do this and then they're not funded to do it, or something like that, or they, something along those lines. I could see that being reasons to not go with it. Did you have another one in mind?
In the specific example of immigration, a lot of times there's a benefit to law enforcement keeping the feds out because they need to administer the laws in the county and the state, and that takes cooperation from the residents, whether they're legal or illegal. And if they're always afraid of being turned into ice, you're not going to get the cooperation you need.
Right. Yeah. So there could be practical reasons. I could see that as well, that, that by implementing this thing, it harms some other aspect of it. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could see that being
a
fair question. Yeah. And I guess, so I think that what we're getting to is that, and I like doing the grass thing because it does help separate out that question a little bit. Because I do think there's like the morality of like, do you agree with this law? And then you would presumably go with whichever one you agree with morally. And then there's that practical aspect, like you're saying, Rosemary. And then there's the question of, well, what should it default to if those other things are out of the way? I feel like we got three kind of categories of weight you could give to stuff. So yeah, no, I think this has been helpful.
So I gotta go this way. What would pull you again, talking about not knowing whether you morally agree with a particular law, just keeping the grass example or something silly, what would pull you toward believing that centralized federal control was better? You gave me a really good convincing reason why local control is better, because the cooperation of the populace is a bit dependent on local. Ooh, that's a good one. What about what's in favor
would pull
of
me to the federal? Well, it's definitely going to be okay. There's two that come to mind offhand. The first one is if there's something that just impacts the entire country inherently. So even if you do have it legal in this one area, that you know, like if it's, I'm thinking about like mask laws or something like that, right? Pandemic situations, you know, those things don't respect borders. And maybe grass seeds don't respect borders either. So maybe there's there's issues there that that require more central control. And then the other one, what was the second thing? Oh man, it slipped my mind. I had it and then it was gone. It was a much smaller thing anyway. It's gone. Okay. It'll probably come back in like 5 minutes.
Yeah. We recently spoke to somebody who worked for the National Guard. I think they still work for the state in a civilian thing about PR for the National Guard.
Aaron.
Yeah.
Or the Air Force.
He got me thinking about the military power of the states and the military power of the federal or the whole states. And that was that really got me thinking. The big example that I have comes from Aaron Sorkin from the White House, where the president in a debate says, you know, states' rights, yes, but Florida didn't win the World War II. We would like
right.
Some things have to be addressed as a whole nation. And you have to cooperate to a degree with that, and then some things can be left individual, and it's a great conversation as to figuring out which fits in which bucket.
We've been doing it for over 200 years.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Yeah, but that first 90 years was a really rough start.
Very rough. And especially the beginning of the 20th century, that was another growing time, figuring out how to do that Commerce Clause to keep us from dying in the Depression.
Oh yeah, the big shift, and then the huge monumental shift of power grab of World War II, where we stayed in the back until we could win, and then boom, and hi, we have all the wealth now. I'm slightly oversimplifying.
What are possible exceptions of the safe haven, contrary to the federal law?
What are the possible exceptions to it?
In what situations can you think, well, maybe it'd be better to comply with the federal law?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if there are, I feel like if there are illegal actions that are like federal crimes, so like, if there's investigations into murders or things like this, that they need that cooperation for, then that should be, they should be cooperating in that sense. If maybe they get some information that somehow they know for certain that this suspect does not have citizenship or something, like somehow they have that information as part of the investigation. And so now they need to know that from, the list of suspects, which ones don't have citizenship, maybe that kind of very narrow aspect, would be an exception.
I don't think there's anything stopping the federal ones from doing their own investigations, but obviously have local resources, and it would be disproportionately costly for them.
Yeah, and I think it's already written into this particular example that they can cooperate with some stuff like that. So, yeah. But
yeah, I can't imagine the Supreme Court's going to give them a blanket pardon on all requests for information or subpoena.
Sure.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're putting up spirited resistance, and because of my personal agreement with or disagreement with the federal law, and because of my statement where I stand on immigration, I'm really happy for this fight. I think this is lovely. I want immigration reform to move through like marijuana reform has. But that's my own politics. It's just one person's opinion.
Yeah, and this is the thing is, is it a temporary thing or is it a permanent solution? And I think that is another important point, is that it should be temporary until you shake out all the like agreement that, okay, now we should just agree what it is on the federal level. So, I guess I'm
temporary
until
keep bouncing, but stop pushing it. Well, I think that's almost de facto the case, right? If the feds stop caring, if the feds stop trying to do their part of it that's causing the tension,
right,
then does it matter whether the law was temporary? Is there an ongoing effect at that point?
Well, it would suggest that the law changed at the federal level, right? Like if there was reform of like the immigration laws, then you would have then the local states would have like won, or at least the on the liberal side of things. So yeah, I see it as like that tension between the regional governments and the overarching governments. I see that tension as, yes, a tension until those are sorted out. And so the marijuana laws and even the Second Amendment stuff, maybe we do end up going all one way. So we say, AR-15s for everybody, and that is the law of the land across the whole place. But okay, I see a stick.
Here's my wand, and I want you to imagine a hypothetical wand. In 5 years, poof. Now, what has just changed is that your preference regarding how much states should have control over their local things happened. That's the big trend, and now 3 or 4 times as much of that's happening as before, and the federal government is going, okay, fine, we hear the will of the people. So what has changed? What changes in the world because we have a trend across dozens of these kinds of states' rights conflict leaning toward the states?
Leaning on the states. So in other words, it's leaning on the states' rights side of things, right?
Yeah. Things move strongly to states' rights.
Yeah.
5 years from now, what's it like?
So the crappy thing about that is that then you get more polarity, I feel like, of states. right? And then you have these blue states and red states that are vastly different living conditions, and that's unfortunate. So I don't like that.
Oh, so you think that for some people, their living conditions would degrade because the federal government is no longer protecting their interests enough?
Yeah. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So states' rights would increase the difference between those states where people have the best lives and those states where people have the least best.
Definitely.
It worse in the U.S. Oh no, I'm not gonna. No, we don't hold a candle.
Yeah. Yeah. So there is definitely a balance there. It's a tough balance to strike. Cool. Well, I think that's
Thank you very
this
much.
has been a helpful conversation. So thanks all for the
Has your
chat.
Thanks for bringing it, Brendan.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
really
for
fun.
sure. Has my confidence shifted? I don't even know where my confidence was at the beginning, honestly. So I'm sure it's shifted many, many times in the conversation. So yeah, and clarity has definitely been increased. So cool. Thanks. Well, this is why I
We
came
win.
on.
Yay. Thank you.
Totally.
That was good. I enjoyed
See you
it.
later.
Thank you, Diamond.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. You too.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you like to go back to ethics? I'm gonna make sure that we are inviting. Let's see. Promotion banners. Ticker.
I had a follow-up thought just there
Yes.
at the end when we were talking about states' rights, and when they say states' rights, when do they actually mean states' rights? Because I'm thinking of our recent gutting of Roe v. Wade, and the rhetoric was always about states' rights in the pro-life community, but like even before Dobbs was decided, there was already a bill being introduced to make it a federal ban on abortion. It's like it didn't really actually mean states' rights, and like one of my friends who was very Catholic and very pro-life had no clue that even happened. When I brought it up to her, she seemed surprised. I'm like, I don't know why you're surprised, because isn't that always been the goal, is to make it banned across the whole country? So yeah,
definitely.
It's
that would be the goal, and I bet that's going to cause a big old shit fest.
Yeah.
Yes, I hope so. I hope the poo will be flung.
Hopefully for not too long, and we get it back to normal.
and by poo, I mean figurative poo. Keep it to the words. Keep it to the words, people. Use your words.
So, but yeah, that got me thinking. Yeah, I think it's one of those balances that we've had to strike over the 2 centuries. Are we 2.5 yet? I forget. 17.
Pretty close.
Close, yeah.
Not quite. It depends on whether you think of like the Declaration or the Constitution as your 0 year.
Yeah. His Constitution's a little bit later.
Yeah, we're 245 if I'm mathing right.
I think so.
Declaration. No, 244. Anyway, I don't know. I'm not gonna do. Don't trust my math. I'm not even checking.
So, Gina, did you want to do your topic?
We can. I was thinking about this in terms of in terms of the SE community, because it's such a small and kind of limited scope, and we kind of get caught up in this one, I guess, way of thinking or one goal in mind, and kind of lose sight that the people we're talking to are actually the people who are working on these projects with us are it's too goal focused. It's goal focused to the detriment of the people working towards those goals. it's kind of an extreme. And
Okay.
we need to refocus and take into consideration the needs of individuals, like the universal needs of connection and autonomy. Am I making any sense at all?
Yes. I can read it back to you. Rosemary, do you have any questions or thoughts first?
No, go ahead. You start.
Okay. I'm hearing that the SE community is focused on one or a small set of goals to the exclusion of a wider set that would be healthier for the people in the community.
Yeah.
Okay. Could you give me the examples in both of those stacks? Choose which one you like first. Which are the goals that the SE community is focused on, maybe successfully, and which are the goals that you would like more focus on?
The goals we'll focus on is, I guess, helping people examine their epistemology and sharing or teaching or promoting this method is a better way of helping people think about their beliefs.
Same goal?
Yeah.
Okay. By sharing. Okay, is that like that? Examine epistemology by sharing? That's
well, examining epistemology. I said that really poorly. Let me try again.
That's fine. I'll keep trying until I get it. You want.
Okay. The goal is to spread this method by sharing it as a better way of discussing people's beliefs.
Okay. Spread method of SE. Not typing well. The method of SE by. Does it matter why about the by? And if there's a because, the because is better.
Because it's a better way of discussing issues. Well, I think what I'm getting at is SE is a better way of discussing these issues.
Then what?
Than arguing, than blaming or shaming. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe something like our goal is to spread the method of SE because it's better than arguing like normal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Please allow my lazy typing allow me to summarize as hard as I can. Anyway. Yeah, so it says epistemology by
And you guys
very much. Very much. Good morning, Anne. Okay, so that's one of the goals that we have. Do we have other goals that we are successfully focusing on?
I think teaching others. The goal of providing people with areas to practice.
Okay. Feedback. Feedback to improve as a group. What am I saying?
Areas, means, areas, methods to practice, formats. What am I trying to get at? Platforms. Giving people places to practice.
Okay, so we say feedback on methods and needed skills. That's one of our goals.
That's I think one of the goals is teaching the method. How they do that is by providing the platforms.
Okay, so teaching method.
Giving feedback is another how they do it.
Yeah. A lot of these seem like this is a very overlapping Venn diagram. Spread the method, teach the method, demonstrate the method, show how to meta the method, show how to improve your method.
Talk about it. And like giving advice.
There's some overarching goal that I think is one goal that you're describing aspects of. Yeah. Okay. Enough about that goal. Unless Rosemary, do you have something about that set of goals that we should list?
No, I think that's good. I'm looking at Jim B's question. That looks like an interesting one.
Is it possible to engage successfully with someone who doesn't accept AC as a viable method in the first place? Do you need to use other means? If they don't have to accept that it's viable, it doesn't really matter their opinion of the process as long as they're willing to cooperate with the interview. And of course, there's a significant fraction of people who just don't like it, don't wanna, and they don't gotta.
This is something we do by informed consent. We explain the process to
them. We're trying not to hide any of
what it is and ask with it. If they say yes, we continue. If they say yes, we continue. If they say no, we end it there.
Yeah, we want to avoid sneaky Street Epistemology. Not trying to be sneaky about it. All of our cards are out here on the table. It's more like a chess game, and fewer traps, because we're not. In one sense, I think the game that I'm playing is not the one they think. They're used to thinking about debate and convincing and pushing on each other, and I'm saying, I'll listen and be convinced and whatever if it turns out I am, and I won't even push back. I just want to talk about your reasons for your stuff, and invite reflection on that. That's it.
Yeah. This the way you have it phrased right now has me thinking about my topic earlier and the protests. And so, is there a way, like ways of being more civilly engaged, and in that context? So, like, because what you had there was a kind of argument, like a mass argument.
Yeah. I would love to do a spectrum style kind of engagement where at separate times in the same room, I had representatives from extreme viewpoints and interview them. They're not in the same room with each other. Afterwards, they'll, just like everybody else, get to see the other person's view as soon as it's done through editing. But the idea would be to have them hash out their position, knowing that their opposition is going to review and respond and that kind of thing, but not in a direct confrontational way. It's all going to be filtered through the interviewer saying, okay, so I have a position over here that I've heard that is, but anyway, I think that might be a really good facilitator of a dialogue across the aisle, is to have it flow through an interviewer who's attempting to be at least superficially neutral. Not that the interviewer has to be completely unbiased. They just have to not try to steer the conversation hard. Anyway, sorry, I took over with my dream of having great conversations across the aisle.
Yeah. What if the? Oh no, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, in the context of that event at Penn State, what if they had invited Gavin McInnes and somebody on the far extreme left that would be on the equivalent scope of extremism, and made them have a civil conversation, and made it not a debate? That would have been a very interesting. That was something I thought about earlier this week, and this fits right into what we're talking about right now.
I wonder if some pundits could manage to stay in character and pull that one off. There's some people whose public persona seems to push back against kind of having those civil conversations. I'm just imagining Alex Jones, like not even able to keep his shit together on the stand, okay, because his persona is big. I'm not size shaming his persona. I'm saying he's out of control and not doing his job very well.
Yeah. I like Doorknob has comment there. That's
yes. May have the shot collars. No,
okay.
In separate rooms. On the same kind of, maybe even simultaneously, but you're over here on this stage, you're over here on this stage, and you've each got your own spectrum, and you're going to try to discuss. But then, and it's a bit time split and hearing the stuff, and I don't know. There's ways to have that discussion. I bet. I don't know if some people are going to cooperate.
In this case, their plane ticket was paid and their honorarium was paid out of the student funds, so they get paid their honorarium for being civil. We'll fly you, but you don't get the honorarium unless you're civil. It's better than a shot caller.
Yeah. Okay. So following the format is part of the bribe. Got it.
Yep.
Got it. No problem.
Yeah. There was a debate.
That doesn't even mess with my freedom.
Yep. There was a debate I went there to that was good. It was William F. Buckley against whoever was the head of the ACLU at the time.
That would be lovely.
Yeah. Like that was awesome.
Oh yeah.
Because that was something that I was thinking about earlier this week when that happened. I'm like, okay, how could they have done that differently and still entertain extreme views, but maybe not spark the protest? Made it less edgy. Yeah.
William F. Buckley's like on the extreme end of civility and logic and clear thinking and obvious rhetoric. And I love to listen to him even when I disagree with him flagrantly. It's great.
Yeah.
Basically, if I go get a William F. Buckley argument, I've got the steel man.
Yeah. The Buckley Baldwin was a good one.
Mm-hmm.
If you've ever watched that video.
I don't know. We have gone way, way off. Thank you for on this one. So I would like to now ask what goals you would like us to widen our scope to. What are some of the goals that we should add in the community in order to benefit the community?
I think just be a bit looser with the goals.
Gina Freeze.
Instead of being focused on the goal, include like just some basic concern for the well-being of the people working towards those goals.
Okay.
For instance, I guess to whatever extent you can, just if someone's helping you with a thing, just ask how you doing. Like a simple "How are you?" And is there anything if someone is helping you with a particular project? Is there anything here you're not getting? Is there anything here that I can help you with? And make it like a genuine concern. Like in SE, we're asking genuine questions. And if at any time, like during the conversation, they show discomfort, we want to check in with them. Hey, how you doing? Do you want to stop here? Are you okay to continue? Is there anything you need right now? Do you just want to get someone or whatever? But you're not so focused on the goal that you lose sight of the people that you lose sight of the people who are working with you on it.
Yeah, losing sight of the people that are working, and so how you gave a few examples of how we could do that. Something like a regular check-in.
Yeah.
Feedback, especially if we're working on a project together or other such thing. Now, you said a real genuine concern. I don't know how to behave a real genuine concern. but I would know how to recognize somebody's needs and try to keep those in mind. I mean, genuine concern to me is that you actually do it.
Yeah.
How you feel about it in the moment is secondary to me. I know I should be social, but I don't feel like it.
Uh-oh, I need to be nice right now.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, so I'm hearing in general that our focus on achieving particular goals or tasks is getting in the way of being social enough to support the community well.
Yeah.
I think that's really excellent feedback for all of us who are in any community, that if the community gives us big advantages, we should be pouring some of our attention into it. We need to be paying attention. That's usually in a volunteer situation like this, attention is all we pay. And I really appreciate all of your attention who's watching the show as well. That attention is very important to our goals. Let's see, the main one that I was thinking about, this one, the spread the method or the teaching and that kind of thing. And then hopefully things like this call-in show are also the rapport maintenance, giving you an opportunity to talk with us directly and not just be a parasocial one-way kind of a street.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
I really enjoy the commentary and the banter and the interaction with the people. So yeah, I'm happy for that. And then as far as within the creator community, the people who are actually working on projects in course development, or maybe they're making SE content or any of the other practice functions that we do, there's a bunch of things. Yeah, I've gotten really focused on my 2 or 3 projects that I'm working on, and not sticking my head out personally much. And I'm hearing that there might be some detriment to the community because I'm being a hermit. Although I'm taking this personally, and I don't mean to. It's just that I'm the only one who can react to me. So as far as this being a message to the whole wider dozens of you, dozens of or hundreds, I'm not sure. Depends on which numbers I look at. Yeah, I don't know. But thank you for the input.
I think it's a general statement, not just you, but a lot of others too.
Sure. It's all of us that we're talking about. This is a message in a bottle to the whole community, I think, from you. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I know a bunch of us really love specific instructions. So if you were to write something up that would be an example of how to do this thing better, even if it's a paragraph or a few, I would sure love to see it. Give me a reference that has clearer words for me wrapped around it.
I think something simple, like I noticed you were having we were talking about this, and I noticed you were feeling kind of down, or you seem tired. Are you doing okay?
Okay. So, my dream of an army of skeptical, philosophical kids dashed. It definitely wasn't the pesky kid's fault like in Scooby-Doo. I'm picking this up in the middle of it. What, hermit lessons? Okay, got it. And SE course in schools would be awesome. Absolutely. Yeah, I think
there are a couple people who kind of already do. We have Navigate with Nate and Fallacy Dave, both of whom we've had on the show here. I think they've done SE in the school with their students. Fallacy Dave, I think, teaches in a elementary school in Britain, or was it middle school? And
their numbering and their naming system is never stuck in my head right. So I don't know
either. I think he said he's a PE teacher, but he does this kind of on the side with the students. It's on a spectrum. Yeah. And of course, Nate teaches high school science, think biology. And he has an ongoing club with the high school students.
Yep. And we have Diamond, who was just visiting.
He's a college professor,
college professor. And then we also have here I am going to have a name fail. Bob Swanson.
Yeah. High school. Chemistry or physics?
I remember astronomy is part of it.
Physics.
Maybe it's physics, astronomy, maybe it's cosmology. I'm not really sure. And I don't remember whether it was high school or college or whichever it was. With students who are paying attention. Yep. So, yeah, we have several
That'd
teachers.
be high school then. If a teacher is generally amazed by their students paying attention, that's usually high school.
My sample is very, very biased to the students at UCLA. They have become my notion of what college students are all about. And I do recognize that's a very biased sample, being one of those highly academically driven, high GPA, only accept a few of the people, and it's also very expensive kind of places to go. Yeah, so you get a whole lot of selection factor for the geekiest and most studious of students.
And thoughtful from the examples we've seen so far.
Yeah, there's one of the conversations from yesterday got just crazy intensely deep. And I was thinking during the conversation, off of a campus like this, could you ever get this intellectual depth? You're just like, what the heck? It's like you're gonna leave half the audience in the dust from just like, where did you just go? What? How did you? And everybody just following along in the conversation. Just got to advanced college level right fast. Yeah. Anyway,
was that one that you can publish, or was that the?
Yeah. That'll be published. It's going to be the most difficult one to publish in this last week, but that's not a big deal because the two people having the conversation, as soon as this other person wanted to say anything against the position and wanted to have their say, this person tuned out and started talking to somebody else. The somebody else was me. So it's going to be one of those things where I will isolate this microphone from here and this microphone from here, and then play the main conversation over here, and then later on play the alternate viewpoint. So a 45-minute conversation will make an hour video or something. I don't know about the proportions, but it was a big one. It was a lot. The whiteboard gets all messy. It's one of those. It's beautiful. And what they came down to was that the two of them interpreted the claim enough differently and could not agree on doing the other person's interpretation of the claim. Neither one of them were willing to deal with the other person's claim, so they processed their claims independently based on a big fulcrum difference between the two claims. Anyway,
so it's like two different claims.
I'm not telling you nothing.
Like there was two different claims, and people like having trouble seeing the point of view of the person with the opposite claim.
Yeah. Yep. And the last thing I'll say was the topic. Science is a social construct.
Oh my
God. That's a good topic. Only my definition of science counts.
That was the thing. They could not. They couldn't get through the definitional phase before they split, and it was okay. How do we deal with this? All right, let's just keep it going, make it work. So
that's where good rapport comes in.
Oh yeah, it was fine. Whether it makes the video editor's job difficult, that's my future self. Whatever.
A couple of days from now.
Yeah. I hope to get some. I'm due to get some training this week in a different video editor that runs on a MacBook that belongs to SEI. So if I use that other tool, it makes any of the things that I'm doing with Reed easier for both of us because we can share our workflow. And that makes it worth learning a new tool. So that's one of the things I'm going to be doing this week. And that's probably the first video that I'm going to be working on with the new tool. So it's going to be experimental as heck. And it's going to be slapdash and cats flying around the room. It'll be terrible. I'd like the audience to be pleasantly surprised. Anyway, set a low bar. So if there are any other callers, did we get to the end of your thing? It seems like we kind of did, but I want you to give you the last word on it. Good.
We sort of did. I think we got sidetracked.
Yeah.
But in good ways.
Yeah.
I was going to ask Gina, is there anything in particular that prompted this claim for you?
I think there have been a few things, and last summer, for a very brief moment, I was helping with the course development project. And the lead writer on the module I was working on, and I just did not work well together. I was asking for very specific expectations and needing help and needing the freedom to ask for specifically the kind of help I needed and not just kind of extraneous things I already knew. And I don't know what it was, but our lines just kept getting crossed, and I didn't feel like I had the freedom to do that. And I was completely lost as to why I was even there.
Yeah, I understand. I get it.
Yeah. Different working styles, different working patterns. Makes sense.
There are other people I work great with, but
yeah.
I think there was also a time zone thing where Michael's and your optimum time were across the clock from each other. So you'd end up having a conversation that went this, and then it was just between a work session in every case. So if there were difficulties in communication, it just got compounded by that, I think. I don't know how much that mattered. I know that mattered a lot in my working with him, that I really had to fit myself to that trading it back and forth rather than doing it in dialogue.
I mean, it might have been easier because it was I think you were maybe 18 hours behind him, and I was only 14 or 15, depending on the time of year.
Yeah, I also had a little more control over being able to touch both ends of the schedule, so that I could work my day around to overlap with him some.
And he also had like a very limited number of hours that he could put into it. Having his own business overseas. So all that kind of compounded. And I don't know what it was, but I think I kind of quietly quit. Or maybe not so quietly. But
it's okay. That, a big part of a volunteer thing is we want to have room for people to drop out and not have it cost. There shouldn't be a whiplash for letting go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Going back to being a hermit, the time for self-care.
Yeah, totally.
Important.
Totally. I really hope that people can do SE, especially in a volunteer situation, as at most the third most important thing in their life. Maybe work or life or work or something, but SE third.
Having other hobbies too, aside from this.
Yeah, it's good. I know I can be kind of monomaniacal. I get working on a thing and I don't look outside that little box of to move the thing forward.
Hyper focused on one thing.
Yeah. I tend to get hyper focused. And I hope people aren't messing with their lives over it. I've seen people get really interested in SE for a little while and then burn out really hard. And hey, as long as that didn't hurt, they tried something until they didn't want to anymore. Great. They grew, they improved the world. Now they're doing a different thing. Great. Go fly airplanes. Whatever. There's lots of good things to make the world better. Anyway, so if we have no further callers, anybody have any last words before we wave out?
Thank you for fielding my claim. This was an interesting call-in. Thanks to Diamond for calling in with that claim. Rosemary, thank you. Dali.
It was definitely good. I enjoyed it, and I hope it was an entertaining one for everybody who will listen later.
Mm-hmm. We'll find out. The YouTube analytics will tell us. Yep. Okay, so how do airplanes fly? Money, that's Hall. That's how airplanes fly, by money. Yes, roughly speaking. Yes. Have a bloody good day, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.